welcome to this episode of Staffing Monthly. And I'm really excited to share with you this product resource highlight where we start to talk about one of the really cutting edge tools that will help you emphasize that recruitment marketing quadrant. If you've been following along with our series talking about the recruiting quadrants, where we get into recruitment marketing and job ad strategy, employee referral programs, and ATS mining, you understand these are the four main areas that you need to be optimizing to drive as much candidates to your website, to your pipeline, all of that stuff. And in doing this research, I realized there's a whole lot of candidates that come to the website and leave the website, right? And this is a challenge that all online retailers have been struggling with since the beginning of e-commerce. And there's a company out there that I found that's actually solving this problem in an amazing way. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to Sam Fitzroy. He's the founder of Dahlia, and they're cool. And they are taking these tried and true principles that have helped explode the e-commerce industry. Every major digital marketplace uses them. And Sam is going to talk about how the staffing industry can actually benefit from these tools as well. So Sam, thank you for being here. And I look forward to hearing more about Dahlia.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. Very excited to talk about this and show the product. And I think you set it up in a perfect way. E-commerce has really paved the way. So we're bringing that to the recruitment world now.
I love it. I love it. And honestly, when your guy Lucas was talking to me about it, he was like, "Hey, have you ever looked for a set of golf clubs or a pair of sneakers or anything online, and then all of a sudden everywhere else you're seeing ads, and then it reminds you that, oh yeah, I should go back to that site and get that thing." I was like, man, that happens all the time. And he goes, yeah. He's like, how cool would it be if that happened on your recruitment website? If like someone could go look at a job and then leave, and then we remind them about that job, and it entices them to come back and apply. And I was like, that's a thing? You can do that? And he's like, yeah, let me show you how. And I think that's what you're going to show us today, right?
I am. Yeah, we can. So we can certainly get into that. Why don't I do this? I will share my screen to make sure like this comes through and everything is visible. Although I think you got to give me share access here.
I do.
Okay.
Let me actually, there we go.
The fun of Zoom, right?
Yeah. You should be good to go. And we'll edit that little part out.
All right, sounds good. So let's pull this up. So yeah, Dan, I mean, what we're doing is tackling just like the crazy amount of inefficiency. And like, as you mentioned, like e-commerce faces the same kind of inefficiency in what they're trying to do. So like we noticed this, and what we're doing is driving up conversion rates. Like that's the key point for us. We want to help staffing firms convert more of the visitors, the engagement, the eyeballs that they get, and convert them into something that means it's meaningful, whether that's a lead or an application to a job. So we zero in on like the stats that are out there, the data that is true for most organizations. And this data comes from Appcast, which is a programmatic ad network. And, you know, they've got both staffing organizations, direct corporate customers, and they look at data across thousands and thousands of applications, probably even millions.
Yeah.
And the data that they have, it shows just the crazy amount of inefficiency. And so this is about paid traffic, like not even organic free. But for most of the companies using this platform, like 95%, the majority of people like who come from a paid click, like a job seeker from a paid click, will not complete an application on a job portal or a career site. And so that's
crazy.
Just crazy.
That's crazy.
It's like I don't know. Hard to swallow, right?
It is. That's it. And people don't realize like you're paying for that 95%, to Indeed or Zip or whoever else, right? Through all your paid programmatic campaigns, and they're not even applying.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where it just gets baked into the overall cost. And so everyone has adjusted to this from a cost perspective. Well, there's a cost of a click, but then the cost of my application is X and the cost of my placement is Y. And when you look at those placement costs and application costs, you don't really think about the conversion rate that's driving that. And what we see is the conversion rate is the single biggest driver of those costs. So a good example of this is we have customers in healthcare, right? In the same exact market, hiring the same exact talent, and they pay the very similar cost per click rates for those candidates, but each of them have very different costs per applicants. one is much higher, and the only reason is because they have a much lower conversion rate on their career site. So they pay more because of that. They didn't pay more
Interesting.
for the market price of that click of that job seeker. They're just paying more because they have a lower conversion rate. And so it's really meaningful. And more than just like optimizing how you spend and where you're marketing, the most important thing is you're like, once you get that candidate, how do you maximize your ability to bring them into your funnel and talk to them and engage them?
Yeah,
So
I agree with that. And one last comment I'll make before I let you keep going is I find it interesting looking at this is 2 years of data from January 2020 to December 2022, and there's no real outliers. The median stays pretty consistent. That's a whole lot of data over that period of time. So anyone looking at this should have pretty high confidence that this is what the conversion rate's going to be.
yeah, and it's a good report. So I'd encourage anyone to go check this out. It's got a ton of data in it. We just pulled this one stat, but there's a lot of nuance between the different job categories and variations in cost per click, cost per applicant, et cetera. It's really cool. What we see is for our clients is a stat that a lot of companies don't have access to. And that is the number of people who visit a portal to look for a job who don't take any action at all. And so for our clients, the vast majority of visitors don't click an apply button. They don't sign up for a job alert. They won't join a talent network. They won't take any action or engage like with a chat or anything. They're just window shopping. They're there. They don't do anything. And e-commerce has really identified this as an area of opportunity, and they have products that target the inactive people, the people who visit but take no action. And it's just something that most companies are not aware of. And it's just this other point. I think a lot of focus generally comes in where what's my conversion rate once somebody clicks apply? What's my conversion rate there? And you optimize that. And you should always make that better and improve that conversion rate. But there are so many people who don't take any action at all. Like, how do you get the attention of those candidates?
Yeah. And for a candidate starved industry right now where there's way more demand than there is supply of talent, like we have to be looking everywhere we can to get it. And that's a 60% pool that not everyone, some people don't apply or click apply because they're not a fit. And it makes sense. But there's some people in there that are a fit and could be a good place candidate that just for some reason chose not to.
Sure. Like you could be on day one of your job search and you're
Yeah.
just like researching lots of different opportunities. You're looking at lots of different companies. Later you're going to come back and maybe remember, right?
Yeah.
Um, but don't leave it to memory, right? Get
Yeah.
engaged. So
Yeah. That's right.
e-commerce has really solved for this in a very simple but effective way. And anyone watching this, I'm sure, is going to be familiar with these kind of pop-ups. And I'm sure you've probably signed up for these. So virtually every e-commerce platform is going to have something like this. They're doing the same exact thing that we're doing. They are buying traffic and they have organic traffic, but mainly they're buying, visitors to their sites in an effort to get them to buy a product and transact. They have the same crazy drop off that we see in, job advertising. So they're really engaging with their visitors. They try to get people into their world very quickly with an interesting offer, this 10% off. And like the discounts aren't what get people to buy something. It's that reminder marketing, the relevant products being sent to them over time, over the channels where they are. And so like email is slowly dwindling and people are using email less and less and less. Like I'm sure like at some point it just won't even be used at all.
I can't even
But
fathom that, but you're right.
I know, but it's true. Like we'll get into it in a minute, but the text piece is really powerful, and especially with younger candidates, that's where most of the engagement is. We've got people in our network, job seekers who never even touch email at all. They just exclusively engage over text, and so really in this day and age, you've got to be marketing yourself over text.
Yeah.
And e-commerce has figured this out, and I think their data lines up with ours is the most engaging channel by far, way beyond email.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's the text, the SMS is more native to the cell phone than opening up your email app for sure. And the cell phone is the pinnacle real estate of any job seeker, really.
It is, and the areas where we focus, we tend to have most clients either hiring like at very high volumes, and those tend to like line up with hourly type work, or in healthcare. And in both of those areas, like these candidates are on their phones primarily
Yeah.
when they're looking for work or doing anything. So this is Dahlia. We take the same e-commerce like approach, and this is one of our customers, People Ready. And so when a job seeker comes to their site, their job board, we immediately engage with that job seeker and offer them a job alert. So it's different than what's happening in e-commerce because it's not like you're getting some discount on product. Like this is a job, right? This is
Right.
important to you and what you're doing right now. So we have really high conversion rates here of people who see this and sign up because we're helping them with the thing that they're trying to do at that moment in time, which is looking for a job. So we collect high level information from the job seeker, like their contact details. We get the jobs that they're interested in, like an area of interest, a location, and we get their preference on how they want to be communicated with over email, text, etc. So we get like this high level lead. That's the customer. So People Ready now gets a lead. And then we start to automatically remarket jobs to these candidates. And there's a couple of really cool, unique things about the way that we do this. But the most special thing is that we do it over email and text. We don't charge any additional money for that. It's just out of the box. It comes with both email and text. And text today drives like 65 to 70% of all applications back to our customers. And it's growing month over month. More and more people, or more and more applications that we drive back to the customers are coming from text.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge. And you know, even when we first started text maybe a year and a half ago, it was pretty small. And obviously we had to learn how to do text well and get better at it too. That was a big
Yeah.
part of it. It's not easy. So you got to be really careful with text, but once you crack that code and figure it out, it's incredibly fruitful.
Yeah, I agree. So you made a comment, Sam, about when you put that pop-up form, if you will, that capture form on the website, you're seeing more capture. Do you have any data of like a before and after, like before People Ready started using that form, like how many conversions they were getting, and then how many you started getting through that form?
Yeah, I mean, we have data which I can show you in a minute, which shows how we've grown the number of signups and
Okay.
more importantly, like job clicks for People Ready. But from a before after standpoint, we'd have to go back and look and see like where they were before in terms of total conversion. We do have data that shows like the total increase in job applications that we've driven back. So we've got to get like the real hard numbers, like we have a full case study in it, which you know happy to share after this.
Okay.
But
And we can
it
put a
really
link to
depends on
that
like
if that's a shareable thing. We can put a link to that right on page, and people can dig into the details if they want to.
totally. Yeah, we can definitely add that in. It really depends on the scale that somebody's using a Dahlia. So, you know, the way that we charge this product is performance-based pricing. So you can kind of set any budget to get the amount of increase in results that you want. So the increase that we deliver is really dependent on the budget of a client. So some clients have us like maxed out and we can deliver a big increase. Others, they have a limited budget, so they kind of hang back. So it really depends on like how you scale it.
Got it. Got it.
You know, like one of the interesting things we're about to release is this job seeker survey. So when these job seekers are signed up and we're sending them email and text, they also respond back to us and they write back with questions or problems and they share that. Usually that goes to the ether. Like if you respond back to I don't want to call out a big job board, but maybe one of the biggest job boards in the world. If you're a job seeker and respond back over text to a text job alert, I don't think anyone's going to answer you. And I'm not even sure anyone's there listening, but we do. And we learn all kinds of interesting things from job seekers, and that
Really?
helps form the product. Yeah. And that is a major driver of what we do in product. And also, we share that directly with our clients. So there's all kinds of cool things that happen. Like if the application process has something weird in it, and we'll pick up on that because we'll hear it consistently from job seekers. Oh, you're asking for my home address, but like it won't take a 5-digit zip code. It's not working. We hear that multiple times. We tell the client, and like, oh, there's a little glitch. So we pick up on all kinds of stuff and
And
share
that's
it back.
funny too, because like that's really useful feedback because in today's job seeker, I guess, landscape, like that's enough to get someone to eject from the process. Like if they can't go there, they're gonna be like, all right, I'm done, I'm out. So like
Well,
that
that's
just
kind
creates
of what
enough little
happened here.
friction. Yeah. So
We told
that's
the
solid
client
feedback.
about this like unique problem when they were asking for address, and they said, "Wait a minute, we're asking for address," and they just pulled the question because it's irrelevant. They don't need it.
Yeah, it's so funny. I talk to agencies all the time, and I was like, "When was the last time you actually went through your own application process?" And they're like, I'm like, "Yeah, just do that. Just like experience what it's like for all these people that you're putting through this process. And if you don't want to go through it, you shouldn't expect them to want to go through it either." So that's good.
And I think more and more, especially with the staffing firms that we're working with, we see many like approach this with an e-commerce lens. So they really treat it as lead gen leads and then converting those leads through a process. And that's actually pretty good. Like on the corporate employer side, that doesn't really happen to the same degree. So um, I think like, agencies have become a whole lot more advanced recently,
Yeah,
especially with the media spend. Um, so, we saw this as an opportunity. Job seekers are responding back to us. We're learning things. We respond back and help however we can. So we did a survey recently where we reached out to everyone who's signed up through one of our customer forums and just asked them a lot of questions that typically you don't hear. Like you don't really hear the job seeker's voice in a lot of the data that gets put out. And so a quick tease for something that will be published. Um, I think a common misconception is that job seekers don't want to receive too many job alerts. Like if we send it more than weekly, that's too much. That will annoy people. Well, what the results of our survey found is that job seekers, the vast majority of them want job alerts at least daily. That's the key
really,
word, at least daily. So more than daily. Um, when we send a text alert, we tell the job seeker that they can respond back more to get more jobs, and many job seekers just respond back to get more alerts. So
that's
when someone's
interesting.
looking for a, yeah, it's like it's just not what you might think as the hiring entity. Job seekers are looking for a job. They want relevant results quickly and frequently until their job search is done. Then they don't want to hear from you. But when
Do you,
they're in it, yeah.
that's true, and I guess that's counterintuitive to me because I would have thought I don't want to burden these people or send too much and like push them away. But do you think any of that has to do with how people today are consume media? You know, that started with Twitter, and like it's not uncommon for people to receive hundreds or thousands of tweets a day. You know, or how you can go on TikTok and watch a series of short videos, and then 3 hours later you realize, holy cow, what have I been doing? Right? Like, do you think it's
Mhm.
just like we've been conditioned to a higher level of frequency of interaction, so maybe they're okay with it?
Probably. Yeah, I think it's, and especially over text. I think, 5, 6 years ago, maybe it would have been more annoying to receive marketing content over text, but now it's just very standardized and it's a very common strategy. So I think, yeah, like there's a lot of things where job seekers are more open to this kind of frequent communication. I think definitely like social, there's just like that river, right, of
Yeah,
content. So
yeah.
for
Is
sure.
is is the SMS alert, is it branded to the client? So like just looking at the example on the screen, I see, great, thanks, Dahlia. But would it always like come across like as Dahlia, or would it actually could they save that number in the phone as like their people ready agency? So they see that it's
It's a
coming from
Yeah, it's a dedicated number per client, actually.
okay,
But it's a Dahlia number, and we do sign off as Dahlia.
okay,
Um, we can brand what we do in email. We haven't yet branded text as
okay.
a in email. We can brand it as the client, but over text, we haven't done it yet. We've been really careful over text because text is very hard, and also there's a lot more rules around text, and so our priority is to make sure that we deliver through carriers
Yeah,
and we're following the guidelines. And like, I think we just focus on simplicity over text. And because we have like this good response now
yeah.
with the Dahlia brand that is growing, it just seems to get really strong engagement. So we just kind
So
of
it,
kept it that
so
way.
it makes sense, but I mean, still, like, if it's a dedicated number, like I could save it in my phone as people ready. So like I see that
Sure.
every alert's coming from people ready, right? Okay.
Yep.
No, I think that's cool. I like that. It creates more of a direct connection. You almost feel more connected to your agency, which is what
Yeah.
we strive for when we're building an audience of job seekers, or we want to engage people. So I like it.
Yeah. And we had this discussion it's a couple of weeks back now with Goodwin Recruiting, and that same sentiment. Now this is more like a shopping experience. When their job seekers visit them, it's more personalized. Like now Goodwin is there daily with relevant, if there are relevant jobs. Like if there's no jobs, we don't send a match. But yeah, it's like we're right here with you, like bring you interesting opportunities. And it's just like a nice way to stay connected automatically.
I also imagine too, like I'm just thinking about use cases that a lot of times, resources like yours overlap quadrants, and I can imagine like if I was to get a text alert for a job, and maybe I'm interested, maybe I'm not, but if I'm with a group of friends, there's a high likelihood that my friends have similar skill sets or might be in similar career fields based on how life works. That I might say, hey, check this out. Like this isn't for me, but maybe you're interested, and you know, so I'm guessing it's a way to probably increase the employee referral piece of it too, which overlaps with that bucket.
Yeah, it's like so untapped, such a good idea. Um, we've toyed with this idea a lot because we have a pretty big scale now among job seekers, but we haven't done anything there. But such an opportunity to like just like quickly refer a job or let somebody quickly send a text or share something.
Yeah. Do you know David over at Staffing Referrals? I mean, they're like the leader of the employee referral program. There's probably a way to collaborate on that one.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Cool. Well, awesome. Yeah. So sidebar, I'm always thinking about like ways that this infiltrates the
Yep.
recruiting pipeline. So back on track, Sam.
Yeah. So I just quickly like you had mentioned like data and impact. So this doesn't really give a before and after of like pre-Dahlia, but it shows what we try to do consistently when we go live with a new client. And so to explain the data, the purple line here is the number of signups, and that's like the form pops up, somebody signs up.
Right.
And the green line is somebody received an email or a text and they clicked, and we drove them back to the site where they then should apply to the job. But we're just tracking clicks in this graph. The same line you would have seen for applicants, just a lower volume. And so the story here is like that the divide, the distance between the purple and green line, it shows how many more clicks per job seeker we're driving over time. And so when we go live with a customer, we don't just like turn it on and walk away. We stay there and we optimize. And we do all kinds of things around like job matching and search and find things out. And that's like sometimes what the job seekers tell us, right? If they're facing issues or what we see. And what we really solve for are disconnects. And so like a good example I like to share is we have a customer hiring in hospitality and they're hiring housekeepers. And so they could write their job titles in a lot of different ways: housekeeper, housekeeping, food services attendant, or room services attendant, services attendant, etc. Well, this client wrote their job title as an abbreviation: SVCATTND. Not even words, just an abbreviation. And they had hundreds of these jobs posted this way, probably because someone posted it once and then it was copied and pasted.
Yeah.
And so, your own career site, if you searched housekeeper, you would not get a match or a result. So we find these things. We see what job seekers are looking for, the way that titles are actually written. And even if it's misspelled or it's an abbreviation or it just doesn't make sense, we make sure we pick up on that and make the connection no matter what. So we not obviously it's algorithmic. They're a computer, like a
Right.
computer program, making sure that we do the matching very well. But we also have humans who pick up on these kinds of things. And so that's really important. That's like really helped us increase the number of relevant clicks per job seeker that we can drive back. So it's just something that you need, that kind of X factor. If this is a kind of program that you want to do on your own, you definitely want to have a human involved to really like see the actual behavior of job seekers.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So just so I understand something that you had mentioned, so you're getting the signups increase, but is this the number of clicks, or are you getting more? You're getting more clicks out of the same people in a sense. So you're actually driving it. So if you have 5 job seekers and before maybe they clicked on 5 different jobs, but now it's like you're showing them different opportunities, and now they might be clicking on 5 each to get 25 clicks. Am I understanding that
Yes,
right?
that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
So the purple line is the number of job seekers who are signing up. Yeah. So just more engagement per job seeker.
And this is just through that form. Like you just add that form and you're tracking that capture form.
Yep.
Got it. So basically that what you've done, why, and just for the audience to explain it the way I understand it, is why you see that uptick, why there's a trend, why it was kind of flat for a while, it takes a while for marketing to resonate with people, for people to get used to something and then start taking action, which is why you see that people see it over and over again, and then eventually they're going to sign up, and then that just becomes this pattern of the market, and that's why you see that. So this is great.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's a few factors, like there's definitely that element, and then just, you got to optimize, right? And we have clients with their own native alerts that might come out of the box, right, with whatever system they use, and neither they or the vendor are there adjusting, tweaking, improving matching over time. It's not like you don't just let it go. You have to constantly be iterating it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it helps a lot.
yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
At a high level, this is what we strive for and what we have done for some of our largest customers who have a scaled budget with us. We've become a number one source of qualified applicants, and I could explain what qualified means from our definition. Um, but a lot of the companies that we work with, they don't have any real alternative to Indeed or other major sites for candidates. And a real alternative is an alternative that can give you volume, a meaningful volume of people you're going to place at a cost that makes sense for your budget. And so we can become that alternative to Indeed that really does not exist today in any real way. So we're doing that with more and more of our clients. Um, we deliver it in a more cost-effective way, so it's generally costs less than Indeed or other job advertising. So that's really our focus. Our core value prop is around getting candidates and placements and just doing it in a more cost-effective way than traditional job advertising. I'm calling out Indeed, but it's really any sort of traditional job
Yeah,
advertising.
yeah, no, it makes sense. I know we list Indeed because they're the big one, but it could be any pay-per-click job board, or really any job board. I mean, it's
Mhm.
you need it. It's part of the strategy, but it can't be the only one. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are a snapshot of some of the companies that we work with. And, the consistent theme is high volume. Like it requires a lot of marketing dollars to get traction with these candidates. And there's significant inefficiency. And so, like, if it's a low conversion rate, you're just overspending
Yeah,
to get that candidate. And so that's really the consistent theme. It's like generally high volume and a pretty big investment already in job advertising that could just be so much more efficient. And that's really what we try to come in and help with.
is there a way to like qualify that, like high volume, like how much website traffic, or like what's a minimum amount of traffic to a career site, a staffing agency, recruiting firm career site, to where Dahlia might be able to have a meaningful impact?
You know, and I'll give you a number, but it does vary. I would say like bottom end is probably like 10,000 visitors per month. If you
Okay.
have less than that, we wouldn't really be able to help in a meaningful way at our minimum spend requirement. So we do have a minimum monthly spend requirement.
Okay.
But we have some clients where, depending on the nature of their traffic, like if it's a lot of paid traffic, who the candidate, client, or job seeker audience is, the conversion rates can vary dramatically. So for some clients in healthcare, right, we might only convert 5% of total visitors into our sign up form, and that's our starting point. But for other clients who like in a different vertical, like skilled trade, maybe we could convert 35% of site visitors into our sign up form. So they don't need as much traffic to get
Got it.
data results from Dali. So really we figured that out as we go live. We always do a pilot, and like we find the true conversion rate within a matter of days. So it really depends on your conversion rate and traffic, but 10,000 visitors a month is like a good bottom end.
Okay. That makes sense. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what we got. And I would encourage anyone who's interested to come check us out, book some
So
time. Can definitely go through it in more detail.
So I love it, Sam, and I like it that it's super simple, which leads me to a question that I have, because I was talking to Lucas, and everything in the staffing world that's technology related seems to have like customization and integration and implementation and all these Asian words that are means takes time and money. And he's like, no, Dan, it's simple. It's simple. So can you qualify that? Like how long? Let's just say I'm a staffing agency and I'm like, Sam, sign me up, right? I sign the contract, I commit to the minimum spend. How long does it take from that wet signature to where this thing is working for me on my website?
It's fast, but the reality is it usually takes about a week. And that's
Okay.
just like because we're waiting for someone to do something.
Okay.
But what like literally it is a copying you copy and paste a JavaScript onto your career site and we're live. Like that's it. So it's like adding a tracking pixel.
Okay.
So for example, we have a bunch of customers who use Haley Marketing as their front end
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
And with Haley, it's a day. Like they send a ticket into their Haley
Yep.
rep, they just get Dolly added within a day. So if you have direct access to your site, you can add us as soon as we provide you a line of code. If you have to wait on your vendor to do it and they're slow to respond, it could take up to a week. But really, it's just a matter of adding a piece of code to your site to trigger our forms. We go get the jobs into our systems directly. So we usually either crawl or pick up on an XML feed that's like pretty standard, but there's no integration into an ATS or into a backend system. This all just runs off of that form popping up on the site.
Is there any training? Like, is it a tool that people need to learn how to use? Like, how does it, like, what's the involvement of, I'm going to say the recruiter at this point, because this is essentially a tool for them.
Yeah, there's no usage. It's fully autonomous, I guess is the right word. So it's like totally automated product. You don't have to set anything up or use anything. We manage it all. It's like a managed service, I guess you could say. But it's fully automated, nothing to do. We do share the leads, obviously, like when a job seeker signs up through that form, that's a lead. And we push those leads to our clients however they want them. Sometimes they want it via email, via CSV files, or directly synced into their system. And so in some cases, like if you know you're using Bullhorn or some other like system and you want that those high top end leads pushed in, we can sync that in. And that can take like a few days on our end to push it in through an API. But that's optional. But there's no usage, there's nothing to do to make the product work.
Got it. And have you worked with the folks at ApplyFlow? Because they've got probably one of the strongest two-way sync with Bullhorn. So I could almost think that if you worked with them, you could actually probably streamline that data getting into
Wow.
the
I have
APIs.
not. We should talk to them. That'd
Yeah,
be interesting.
they are. They're doing some amazing things actually.
Cool. Yeah.
I was at a point where I wasn't sure that like the website for staffing could be advanced any further. But they're doing some pretty cool things over there. Um, cool. Well, this is awesome, Sam. I think it's cool. I really do. When Lucas shared it with me, I was like, this is interesting. And I look at resources in this industry all the time, and it's getting fewer and far between that I say this is interesting. So I really dig it. I love the fact that you're tapping into what it's literally the most foundational play in e-commerce today, and that you're bringing it to our industry. So I like that you're forward thinking like that. Um, we'll get all of your contact information on page here, so anyone can click to get through to you. And then also, if you've got that report that you want to
Sure.
share, we'll just get a link that people can just click and get access to that. They want to see all that data. But yeah, this has been amazing, Sam. I appreciate your time and sharing this with our group.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for having me on.